Hi everyone, I'm Tom. You guys already know me. I already introduced myself. I am very excited to introduce you to Sami Inkinen. Sami Inkinen is the founder of Virta Health, which Venrock is very proud to be a backer and an investor in. And he was one of the co-founders of Trulia. So he is here to share with us his expertise on scaling early stage startups, on product, and on anything that you're curious about. But why don't we start by giving him a big round of applause for joining us.
Things that I did not do very well, and I've learned, I would say, one, take very good care of yourself, your physical health and your mental health. And what do I mean in practice? So practical examples, like I reached a point at one point where I started forgetting the names of my nearest, closest colleagues, and English is my second language, so sometimes I started forgetting simple English words. I was like, how is this possible to someone who's 30, racing triathlons, winning races all over the world, and building a company at the same time? And sure enough, I realized that sleeping 4 hours a night is not a badge of honor. You're not creative, you're not smart, you're not making the right kinds of decisions. Other things, I realized that I was very attached to the company and the company outcome. And if you want to be creative and relaxed and make very objective decisions, I think it's very important to have outside interests and sort of outside identities that you don't attach too much to, like your company is you. So that would be my one thing. And I did not do a great job, I would say. So take care of yourself. And you want to come to your office and your team energized, creative, well slept. And as a person who's not like white knuckles grinding teeth, like that's not a state in which you can do great work with your brain. So I'd say that would be one. Second thing, just sweat the big stuff. And I remember I always felt like, oh my God, I have a to-do list of 10 times longer than what I can do, and it sort of creates stress. And but there's very few things that really matter, and it's very important to realize what's the big stuff that you should sweat. And to me, it's roughly speaking, after you have the initial product market fit, it's people, strategy, and cash. And we could talk about 2 hours on each of those, but people, strategy, cash. Cash meaning never run out of money. Many good companies have fallen apart because they run out of money. Strategy, you want to make sure everyone's cutting trees in the right forest. And it's very easy to forget to invest time into sort of questioning your strategy. And then people is, after the initial 5, 6, 7, 10 people, it all comes down to people and culture and how do you create an environment for people to do the best work in their lives and attracting the best talent. So that would be the second thing, to sort of always thinking about what's the big stuff you should be sweating while it feels like you should be sweating everything at the same time. I think those are the two things that I did not do a particularly amazing job.
How do you think about product market fit? So I'll throw that out to you.
Yeah, I'm sitting here with the product expert and he's asking me tough. I'm sweating already, like, do I give the right answer? How do I think about product market fit? Well, first of all, I would say in a very early stage, it is probably, it's going to be a controversial answer, the second most important thing. And the first most important thing is the people, the founding team, and the culture and the values. So people, to me, is still the most important thing. And you might say, well, but if you don't have product market fit, who cares about the people? But if you find a product market fit, and then you don't have the people foundation, you're going to fall apart. So people most important. But I would say it's product market fit in itself is definitely the most important thing that you can be thinking about and trying to figure out after the initial team. And so, well, how do you know when you have it? My qualitative answer is you really know it when you have it. And if I give you a specific example from Trulia, so most of you probably don't remember when Trulia got started, but it was like 2004, 2005. Google Maps did not officially exist. And the real estate experience, for the most part, was going to a Coldwell Banker website and trying to sign up to at least see a list of homes for sale. So anyways, our initial product, and the idea was to unleash all the information to consumers And we were one of the very first companies to have an interactive search experience for consumers. Like you have a map and you can like go and, oh, there's a house, there's a pin. It sounds really 1990s now. But I remember we went to a real estate company and trying to get their listings that they would give to us so to syndicate their content. And we had their VP of marketing and some other executives getting the demo, and they were like, whoa, 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 like go and get our CEO here. And then for us at Virta, we are literally curing diabetes that is thought to be an irreversible disease, and the patients, write us almost like love letters where they're like, you saved my life, whatever I can do to make the company successful. So to me, product market fit is qualitatively, it's like above and beyond that anyone would expect, and you sort of feel it. Like we have something special here. It's not like you do growth hacking and your day-over-day growth rate is 2 percentage points higher than somebody else's. Like that's not product market fit. Well, there's a couple of vectors. Well, one is when the environment and the platforms change, like you may have fundamental disruptions. Like you may completely lose your product market fit because there's, say, a new platform. What happened for us during the Trulia years was mobile, and we're sort of laughing about iPhone to some extent, and one of our engineers developed the first iOS app over a weekend. And we were like, well, that's kind of cute. Like, let's put it out there. And it's like 18 months later, half of our business was mobile. So that's, I think, an example, one data point that sort of proves the case that your product market fit, if you miss some external change or platform change, you can completely lose it. And then there's a more gradual change, particularly if you are in a purely consumer type of service where the switching cost is very, very low. You don't have network effects, and you download a different app. You could very well lose your user base very quickly unless you sort of iterate, and you're always the fastest, easiest, whatnot. So, yes. But in order to defend yourself, you want to make sure that obviously you're building ways in which you and not lock users to yourself, but create so much value that replacing or changing, switching is painful.
So how soon should a company start thinking about defining their culture?
So this is what happened with Trulia. So I co-founded Trulia with my Stanford classmate, who was also an immigrant from Europe, Pete. So it was two of us co-founders. And before we had anyone else in the team, we said, let's define our culture and values. And we kind of pulled it out of thin air to some extent, and we were selfish. We said, we should define the environment where we're going to spend most of our wake-up hours and perhaps more time than our girlfriends and our significant others, which turned out to be true. And so we defined it when it was just two of us. And with hindsight, it was the best thing we ever did. When you define your culture and values early, it's just way easier to build the foundation. And then you have a little bit of a self-selection. You hire the first person and you say, hey, this is what we want to be, this is what we want to be like. And you attract the types of individuals who believe in whatever it is that you want to build. And I'll just give you one example of how our culture and values became very beneficial for the company. I find that whatever kind of environment you create, it's like the internal immune system against external attacks. And as one example, 2008, you all probably know, the economy tanked. Not just the economy, but particularly the residential real estate economy. And we were residential real estate marketplace. And I was freaking out because I thought we did not have layoffs, but we had hiring freeze for basically 12 months. So we cannot hire anyone, and we lost customers. Revenues were flat. And at the same time, Zynga was just going crazy. And I think someone told me they had their first day of $1 million a day of either profits or revenues. And wine parties every night. I was like, oh my God, we're gonna lose all our engineers. It's gonna be crazy. We lost 0 people during that year, 0. And one of the reasons was people were telling me that, this feels like this is my place. I want to be here. And then another story is actually this individual who built our first iOS app, he actually left eventually. Started his own company. Facebook acquired it within the first 12 months or something. He worked for Facebook for, I think it was 3 months, and then left and came back to Trulia. I was like, that's nuts. Like, what's going on? He's like, well, it was one of the best environments. It just felt like that's the place where I want to be. And the last story, actually, third story, about the power of culture and values that you define early and then build gradually. So now my new company, Virta Health, is in the same block, same building where Trulia is. They have 7 floors, I think, in the building, like 1,000 people or something. And so I see my ex-teammates in the elevator when I'm going to my office. I'm like, you know, we're curing diabetes, it's going to be big, and I'm looking for engineers. And I can't tell you how many times people say, well, you know, I don't want to leave. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, don't you know who I am? Like, you know, it's like, I love working here.
That's amazing.
And it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, we created an institution that the institutional loyalty is stronger than to the founders. And that's pretty awesome. When you're raising capital, I think it's very important to see eye to eye. Where are we? Where are we going? And what is sort of our strategies? And then secondly, well, I would hope that I will always have investors who are like, I'm the CEO, or whoever is the CEO, I'm the CEO. And it's my job to figure out the strategy and where we go. And if ultimately you think I suck and I'm not delivering the shareholder value that they expect, then you've got your tools, which is the board's job for the most part is to fire the CEO. So I do think it's my job to set the strategy. You don't have to exist if you want to make obvious decisions or if you make decisions that others sort of feed you.
Well, thank you, Sami, for sharing your wisdom and battle-worn insights. Big round of applause.